Welcome back, everyone. Monday, January the 25th, Monday morning briefing, episode 19. It's hard to believe that we've been doing these for 19 weeks, but that is the case. We've been consistent. It's probably the only thing that I'm super consistent on. It doesn't post every single Monday, but it does post during that week, and so these Monday morning briefing videos have been a lot of fun. Real quick, before we get started on our Monday morning briefing this week, I want to recommend another weekly little kind of shop visit video from Odin Leather Goods. Odin started doing a Monday morning shop talk, I think is what he's calling it, or Monday shop talks, and I'm excited. I really enjoy it. It gives me something to look forward to, just like you guys that watch this Monday morning briefing. You seem to enjoy these, so I'm getting a little bit of that with Odin's, and I think he's got 2 of them out, maybe 3, and they're good. They're real good. He said he wasn't going to make them very long. This week's was like 45 minutes, so I enjoyed it. I enjoy a little longer format if it's a subject that I'm interested in, and he had a lot of good information in there. So if you don't know who Odin Clack is with Odin Leather Goods, he's up around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Be sure and check out his channel, and be sure and follow him on Instagram because he's got a lot of good content on there and makes a lot of really neat products and stuff. But we had him on the podcast on Lost Trade. He was one of the early episodes, number 1 or 2. I think he was the second episode. And so be sure and check out that episode with him. He's got a lot to offer the community as far as coming at the leather goods manufacturing, but from an actual manufacturing standpoint, as far as the way he builds. He doesn't do a lot of custom. And so you can learn a lot about systems and processes with him, and just kind of try to work some of those techniques and some of the ideas that he has into your shop from a custom standpoint, and I think it'll really help. I think he's got a lot to offer. So, but be sure and check out him. As far as us, we have been busy this weekend. We worked on the shop quite a bit. We got some stuff moved around. I was able to, now that the warehouse is completely, lit now with lights and that we've got water, we're trying to just kind of inch out some of the stuff that was in the middle room here and get that out there where it's set up and a little more user friendly so that we're not so crammed up in here. And so that worked out good. I think I've found a home for now. I don't know if it's a permanent home, but I found a home for now for the splitter, and it's in this middle section of the building, and that way I have easy access to it. But that machine doesn't take up a big footprint. So for any of y'all that are thinking about going ahead and getting one of the Cobra splitters, it really doesn't take up a lot of room. I'd say it probably actually takes up less room than your Cobra Class 4 does, just because the Class 4 hangs off of the table. So the actual footprint, and that's what I'm always watching and checking out and trying to be sure that I've got it set up right, is the actual footprint of whatever it is, a bench or a sewing machine or whatever. Because it's not only, the footprint is not only just the size of the machine base, but it's also the work area of the machine and what you need. Can it be up against a wall, or do you need space behind it? Like the Cobra Class 4 works best when it's perpendicular to a wall, because then you have complete open space around it when you're working the material through the machine. The Singer 3115 that I use, now that I'm not sewing belts on it anymore, it can be parallel with a wall and up against that, because all I'll be sewing on that machine from here going forward, for the most part, will be wallet interiors, portfolio interiors, stuff like that. Smaller flat goods on a flatbed table. I don't need to be able to have it drape off the back end of the machine. Occasionally I might. If I do, I can inch it away from the wall a little bit. But that's something to kind of think about when you're looking at these kind of things, is just kind of when you're laying stuff out, is that sometimes the machine's footprint is going to be much larger, actually, with a work area that you're going to need around it. And so, but with that splitter, it's actually really nice. I've got a little piece I want to add to it that's going to make it's just going to be like a little ramp, so that the split leather that comes off of that machine will slide down that into a trash bin, and instead of piling up on the back of the machine. So once I get that kind of figured out, I'll show you that in the Monday video. But I think that's going to be a pretty simple little project. It'll be kind of cool, and if you have one of those machines, it might be something neat to add. Some of y'all may have already done that. But we we did a lot of work in here this weekend. We got all the Christmas decorations down. I was really sad about that. I love Christmas time, even though it's hectic and very nerve-wracking and anxiety-ridden because of the amount of work that we have to do. I genuinely like the Christmas season, and I especially like it more this past year because we have a retail floor again, and so we were able to really decorate and do that kind of thing and have people come in and just get that Christmas feel. So hokey or not, I enjoy Christmas, and I didn't want to take down all the decorations, but we couldn't leave. We thought about leaving them up all year long, but we figured, no, we better take them down, and that way we can do something different. I've got some other stuff. We want to build some a lot of inventory for the retail floor anyway, and so we're going to have to have the space. So we took the tree down and all the stuff. We left some of the lights up just because they're Christmas lights, but they kind of go with what's going on, and it kind of lights up the windows and stuff. So we did that. Worked on some projects. Didn't make very much progress on the bag at all this weekend. I intended to on Saturday, but the family was in here. While I had the helping hands, we were able to move some stuff around, so we didn't do a whole lot of projects. Saddle wise, I got some stuff done on the saddles, but it's all the little bitty stuff. But we're going to put a cantle back on today and get skirts on this other saddle, so we'll show you that next week. But we'll have skirts on, plugged. Both saddles will probably have the skirts plugged and sewn onto the trees by next Monday video, and so they're moving along very well. But I had to get a bunch of the little stuff done. I got stirrups lined for the roper, all the rig catchers and latigo keepers done for both saddles, hobble straps done, that kind of thing. One of the cool things, if you follow my Instagram stories, it might have been a video I actually posted in my feed, but I had a new wallet it's not a new wallet, it's basically our money clip flip wallet, a money clip wallet that we do. The little bifold's got a pocket on each side with a money clip in here. I would show you the finished wallet on this video, but my daughter stole it from me. She wanted it. She's been wanting a wallet, and she liked that one and asked if I made it for her, and I said, of course I did, and I gave it to her. So I don't have it. It's in her backpack. So, but this is basically it. This is some leather. The outside of that wallet that's on my Instagram feed is some harness leather, I think. I got it from Aaron at Makers, and I can't remember what it was, but I think it's from Wicket and Craig. It had a really nice pull up to it, real waxy, just a really nice hide. I used it for some projects here and there, but I didn't have a big use for it, so I had a pretty good sized chunk left. And so I clicked out a bunch of wallet backs out of it and then pulled them down on the splitter, and I made one wallet just to see how it turned out. I ended up using latigo on the interior for the pockets and for the liner because I've got a lot of scrap latigo in the shop just from projects that we build. And so I use latigo to cut tie straps out of first and foremost. And once I cut those tie straps out, then I'll line my flank billets with it, line flank girts with it, breast collars with it. Basically, it's a lining leather is all I use latigo for. And so I thought, man, that'd be pretty cool if I could put all these little pieces to use in these wallets. And so I tried, and I thinned it down real good and made a liner, and then the two pockets out of latigo. So it's a harness type leather for the outside. And that leather turned out beautiful. The wallet turned out really, really cool, and it's just kind of a clean leather wallet. There's no tooling on it other than our maker stamp, and I was really excited about it just because it looked clean. Like I said, it is from our money clip wallet video, and that's the actual wallet that I made. And so I ended up cutting out a dozen of them, give or take. I think I ended up with 10 wallets or so, but I am making them up, and I am going to put them on the website for sale. So if you keep an eye out for that on the website if you're interested in that. We'll post something to Instagram or Facebook to let everybody know they're up there. But I did go ahead and I got the scrap leather. I went ahead and cut out enough to make 10 or so, and I'm going to put them on the website. So those will be available. I also did one at all latigo, and I had the latigo already split, so I went ahead and made one because obviously if I give one to sister, I got to give one to brother. So I kind of tried to head that off at the pass before they started fighting. So I went ahead and I told him, I said, I'm making you one right now. So I made another one out of latigo, and it turned out really cool. But that's some of the items that we want to do as far as putting those on the website, keeping a few more of those type of items already made up. Obviously, we're going to do a bunch of those type of things that are tooled. Our little wallets that we do and stuff like that, we tool a lot of stuff, and so we will be doing some and trying to keep them in stock where they are tooled. So if anybody's interested in those. But mainly it's just product line. If you've got a leather shop and stuff, it's nice to, if you're working in the custom realm like I do, it's kind of fun sometimes to say, I'm going to make 6 items I want to make, and then I'm going to just try to sell them. That's a little bit different situation than when somebody comes to you and orders, I want a wallet with this initials and this thing on here, my brand on the back, or whatever. That's a different situation than if you just say, I'm going to build a pile of them, and then I'm going to put them on my website, or I'm going to put them on my social media, or whatever. And it feels like it's easier money. It feels like you went through that project a little bit easier. You can systematize it a little bit better. You can say, I'm going to make 10 or 6 or 3 or whatever you're going to do, and then cut out all the parts, tool all the pieces, put them all together, and you're not having to read a worksheet or, you know, make sure you spelled the person's name right on the back of the belt or whatever that might be. And so it's just something different. If you've got scrap leather around and you've got a little downtime or in between orders or something, I wouldn't make up 100 of anything unless you've got the market for it that you know is going to purchase those. But making 3, 10, whatever of any kind of item, like those knife sheaths, those are always good to keep around. I would always keep at least a dozen of those in your shop or in your truck, depending on how your business is structured. If it's strictly home-based, you know, keep your little box of them in your pickup or whatever. If you're at a roping or if you're on the job or something like that, and somebody sees yours, you can say, I've got some, you know, available. And they're easy items to make. You know, I'm not going to ever make 12 saddles for the floor just to sit there and stare at, because there's a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of materials invested in a project like that. But working through your scraps and maintaining your scraps and keeping them managed is something that can really increase your profits and increase that gap, that any kind of little gaps you might have during the year as far as revenues go. So keep that in mind. And be sure and try those little things and keeping a few of those little items made up. And they don't all have to be tooled. Like I said, I'm known for tooling. That's mainly everything that I make. I've got to tool it because it's just kind of our style and what we do. But it's fun to put together stuff like this that's not tooled. It's just a good high quality leather, and it just looks classy. And a lot of times I sold one that I did out of harness leather, just kind of the same deal. Trying it, I just used a different Herman Oak harness, and somebody was in the shop and saw it and just, hey, I want to buy that. And so that was just a, you know, it's not free money, but it's kind of like, hey, that was a sale I wasn't expecting that day. And because I had it sitting there and the right person saw it, I sold it. So that's always a good deal. We did get some stuff tooled last week. I've got a little stack of belts here that we're going to be working on this week, get those caught up. And then we got a rifle sling and a couple other belts tooled and dyed and painted and all that stuff. Real quick on the paint. So if you're following our stories on Instagram, you probably saw that we are doing a trial of a new paint that Aaron at Maker's Leather Supply has. And it's by the Alpha 6 Corporation. And I think he told me these people make sign painting paints. So I'm assuming enamels, kind of like One Shot, stuff like that. But they're a sign painting supply company. But these they came out with these. I don't know if they're new or if they've been around and Aaron just found them. I'm not sure. But I think they're relatively new. But they're a leather paint. Number one thing I like about these, I've already used them. We'll talk about that. I'm going to do a video review of these once I paint just a little bit more with them, because I want to really kind of get to know them. But the number one thing that I love about these paints, and it might be trivial, but it has a flip top with a little hole, and you can squirt out just as much as you need. The problem, and I love Angelus paints, always have. I still recommend them. I think they're fabulous paints to use, and I have a pile of them and will continue to use them. But sometimes some colors get more runny than others. Some of them are thicker than others. So having to pour it out, I've taken one and, you know, it just happens to be real runny, and you take the lid off and go to pour a little bit and you pour a whole pile of paint out. So that's aggravating. Like I said, probably trivial, not a big deal. But I really like the packaging of this. I wish Angelus would do that and put just a little deal on there with a flip top where you can just squirt out just a little dot of it if that's all you need, is just a smidge of paint. But past that, the stupid bottle isn't the focus of these paints. These paints are really cool. They go on really, really smooth. The little bit that I've used them, like I said, I've painted a few things with them since I got them, and I told him I'd check them out and kind of give him my opinion on them. He didn't expect me to do a video, but I am going to do a video review after using them, because they're really smooth. They seem like they They strike in pretty well. I'm about to antique over something I've painted, so we're going to see how they hold up to antiquing, because that is one drawback with some colors of Angelus. It seems like for me, no matter how long I let them dry, they still kind of rub off a little bit. But I'm going to try this, and if these don't rub off, these may be my new favorite paints, but we'll see. The only thing is, he said that they don't mix really well to reduce them. Water doesn't work super well, so they actually come with, or sell, I guess, a little thing of reducer, and it's just a clear liquid, and you put a couple drops on that if the paint is thicker than you would like it to be for whatever application you're doing. And I did use that, and I thinned it down pretty good and tried to get that real thin watercolor look on something I was doing, and it seemed to work pretty good. It takes a little bit more, it's going to take me a little bit more trial and error to kind of figure them out with that reducer, but honestly, these come out of the bottle, and I haven't had one yet. Pigments are funny, so different pigments do different things in the bottle, so I'm sure I'll hit one that's thicker than another one, and that's why some are thinner and some are thicker. But this paint here has been buttery smooth, goes on well, covers well, the opacity is really good. So all in all, I like them. A couple people commented that they bought some and just hadn't tried them yet. I'd say give them a whirl. They're really good. I've been really enjoying it. He sent me just a bunch of colors, and so I was able to mix the colors that I needed. Like I needed a specific turquoise. Mine didn't come with an actual turquoise, but I know how to mix that, so we were able to mix a real pretty teal color that I needed. And that's one video that we may do too in the future, is like a color theory video. There is some really good videos out there. I think the one YouTube channel that I follow that I learned the most on as far as color theory and mixing paints is Draw Mix Paint, and that's a really good YouTube video. He's got a lot of good information on there. He's an oil painter, and so it's basically coming from that industry, and that's what he's talking about is oil painting. But you can take his color palette. He uses a limited palette, and so just the primary colors, and I think he has a brown and white. He adds brown and white. A lot of artists won't have a black. They just mix black. And so anyway, you can research that. I may do a video on my limited knowledge of color theory and mixing paints to obtain the colors that you want, and mixing up shadows and stuff like that as we go along. But I'm not an expert on it, and there's a lot of good videos out there. Like I said, his Draw Mix Paint would be one that I would recommend. That is a very good video on how to mix color and match colors, and so that's a good one. But anyway, Alpha 6 paints, Maker's Leather Supply is carrying them. Be sure and check them out, and we will do a video maybe this week. I've got a bunch of stuff to paint, so I might just do something again. But we do have some project videos that I'm ironing out the details on, so we're about to get started filming those. I know January's almost gone, and we still haven't had a project video, and I apologize for that, but it's just January. January is always just kind of a hairy booger, because we've got a lot of things business-wise that we have to take care of, and we've also got some stuff going on that this year in particular that we're just trying to get nailed down and finished up and wrapped up. And so it is what it is. I don't ever expect a lot out of January, honestly, usually every year, because things are usually kind of slow and quiet. We've been getting a lot of calls and taking a good amount of orders, but in general it's a good time to just kind of sweep out the shop, organize books, get ready for tax season. Unfortunately, we got to get ready for that, and just be sure our ducks in a row, because come March and April, I don't have time. We're too busy on saddles and things, and usually, doing stuff or going somewhere or doing that. But this year, I don't know what's going to happen, so we're just trying to get ahead of the game. We did get some repairs done, and so we're wrapping up a couple more. I got some washed this weekend. Like I said, we are going to do a clean on polish video, so a lot of people have been asking, am I going to do that? And I will do a video on washing the saddle, and then we'll do a third part video on putting that saddle back together and shining silver, and kind of my process that goes on in doing that. So I'm going to do it in 3 parts. So we have already done a video on breaking down a saddle to wash, and that video is up on YouTube, so you can certainly find that. It was one of the first videos we did when we moved into this shop, so it's not too old. If you go back to probably around June of last year to probably July, somewhere around there, you'll find that video. But then we'll do video number 2, which will be actually washing the saddle. Video number 3 will be the oiling, conditioning, reassembly, shining any silver that's there, and doing a final check over just to make sure that the saddle's ready to go out the door. And so we're working on that. That'll be a good deal. And I've got a saddle that we've got to wash that we'll use in that video for that. So yesterday we actually went to my mom's and got some machinery out of her garage. She's been wanting some of that stuff. If you listen to the Lost Trade podcast, you've probably heard that me talk to, last week's was Dustin Lau, and that was a really good podcast episode. Turned out really good. I'm getting a lot of good feedback on it. But when talking to him, I kind of mentioned to him that my brother was also a bootmaker, and he went to school with Carl Chappell up in St. Joe and learned how to build boots, and built boots for a number of years, and was in my shop some early on, and then moved down here and had his boot shop here for quite a while, and did it kind of on the side. He had a day job also, but so at my mom's, he has a lot of his boot and shoe equipment. We've also got a lot of other boot and shoe equipment that we'll probably be going through and selling at some point. But he had a cabinet finisher over there, which if you know anything about boot and shoe repair, there's a thing called a line finisher, with Landis line finisher. There's some newer models, but most of the people use an old green machine, usually 10, 12 foot long, somewhere around there. And it's got a lot of different wheels on it that do different things for polishing, sanding, cutting, trimming, doing that kind of thing on boot repair, boot and shoe repair. I had a line finisher in our first shop that he had bought, and he put it in there when he was building his boots out of there. And so we benefited from that as far as for sanding our edges, especially on skirts. You know, it's a lot of leather stacked up there. Instead of sanding with a sanding block like I use, and in all my videos that you've seen me use, I use a sanding block to sand those edges. We would use the finisher. It makes time, it saves a lot of time. A lot of people have gotten to where they'll use like a benchtop sander that's got the flat disc, and then I think it's got a little belt sander on there. You can buy those at Lowe's or Home Depot. Those things work really good. I've got a couple buddies of mine that have used those for years, and they love them. Cobra also has a little sander. It looks like a big grinder, and it's got a slicking wheel, I think, on one side, like a Cabola wood slicking wheel, and then on this side it's got a sanding drum. And that thing works great. I've used it at Aaron's when we were up there. That's a really good little machine. But Ben had a cabinet finisher, which is a lot smaller. It's got a big belt sander on there. You know, the belt's probably yay wide. I'll show it to you here in a second. But it's just basically a belt sander. And then it's also got a spot to mount a numb keg, which is another little tool, which I'll show you. Anyway, that thing was at Mom's, and it's in her way, and she wants room in her garage and stuff like that. So I told her once I got the warehouse set up, we were going to bring air compressor, stuff like that was all Dad's, that was set up in there, and that way she has a little more room. She's an antique nut, so she's got a lot of antiques and old things in there and stuff like that she peddles, and she's always buying and selling, and so she just needed more room. So we went over there yesterday, and we got all that out of there, brought it in here. So let's go check out that sander. I'm going to show you just kind of what I got kind of set up back there. So slowly but surely the little warehouse is coming along as far as having more tools for us to do our job. So grab some coffee and I'll show you that. All right, so this is Sutton Landis cabinet finisher. So here is the big drum here with a belt, and basically it uses these large belts of sandpaper, and you put those on, and then when you turn it on, obviously it moves. And so this side here, there's a hair wheel. That's for polishing boots. I'm not a bootmaker, so if you bootmakers think I'm saying things wrong, then I'm sorry. But there's that. So that comes off. You can actually take this side off and mount this one, which is just a narrower sander, and they make paper for these and mount on there. It's also got this angled sanding wheel here, which I'll need to get some more paper for. But these, you can interchange them on that side. On a big line finisher, on a line finisher that's like, you know, full size one, all of these different attachments are on there all the time, and it's got levers that you can pull to engage just one section of that line finisher. So you can walk down the line and you can sand, you can buff, you can trim, you can do whatever you need to do on the finisher all at one time. With these, you've got to change the wheels out. For us in the saddle shop, the only thing that we'll do with this machine is sand with it. So this will be the primary area here, but I want to mount this one, probably just this one, onto this side, so that there's one that's a little bit smaller for whatever reason, but I don't really need the hair wheel as far as I know. I've never used it. I had one on the line finisher that was in the shop. There's also a cutter up here, and I want to turn this off or disengage it somehow, and I haven't really figured that out. I just got it in here yesterday, so I haven't really piddled with it much, but I want to disengage this because I'm imagining that's, if I get to really sanding and focusing, I don't want to accidentally get a finger in there or my hand or something and hit that thing. So I want to disengage that. I also found the numb keg, which is just a small motor. These are really, really handy. If you ever find one of these at an antique store, probably not, but if you ever find one somewhere, some estate sale or something you're at, it's just a little motor. It's got a little pad here. It takes these, you order these little kind of crimped looking sandpaper deals, and they're tricky to put on, but you put them on there, replace them as they wear out. But this little thing, it'll mount up here on top of the machine, and you don't have to turn this whole machine on if you just needed to sand. We used to use this. We had one on our line finisher, and we use this more times than anything, especially making small stuff like a wallet or a knife scabbard or something. You just come over here, flip the little switch that's on the back of it, and then just do your little sanding, however you need to do, and it works really, really well. It also works on weird contoured little areas if you need to get in a little port on a skirt or something. A lot of times you can get to it with a little numb keg. But the numb kegs are really handy. If you ever find one, you could just mount it on a bench. I suggest mounting it up about that height right there, so you can use it, you know, a little higher. But you can mount it anywhere, and this just plugs in independently. So it's not actually wired to the machine. So that'll be pretty good. I'm glad to have one of those back in the shop. The other thing we got was just an air compressor, just a simple little Craftsman air compressor. So if we do need to blow something off in here or air something up or whatever the case may be, we're not adding staple guns and that kind of stuff to our workflow. We just need an air compressor in here, and it was in Mom's way, so I brought it. Also, we'll have a cutting rig, and I got a vise and that kind of stuff. So we will have a little welding machine out here to where if we do need to fab something up right quick or repair a piece of machinery or tool or something like that, we'll be able to do that in the shop as well. Like I said, it's always a work in progress figuring everything out, but for the time being, I want to build some benches that are the exact height of this bed here, and we will do that. But for now, I had an extra shelf, those tall racks. I went ahead and broke it down to where it had an L shape to where we could sort and have something to set dies on or leather we're cutting and stuff like that. And then I moved the shelves that were in the middle room, moved them out here, and store our leather right here. I was kind of iffy on storing leather out here because I didn't know, because it's not insulated and it's not climate controlled, obviously, out here. But everybody that I know, that like Aaron, his big warehouse, I don't know if it's insulated, but I know it's not climate controlled. His store is, but I know the warehouse is not. And then Lewis Leather Sales, their warehouse is not climate controlled. Again, maybe insulated, but so we're gonna try it out here. I think I go through leather quick enough. I don't think it'll be a problem as long as this roof doesn't have any little leaks where some water could leak onto the leather. But so far, I haven't noticed any water on the concrete floor or anything like that, and we've gotten some pretty good storms, so I think we're good to go. And so this is the back corner of the middle room, and those racks were here. We had trees set up on top. Basically, those racks are really cool if you can find them. Like I said, Lowe's used to sell them. They were $100. They go together super easy, but they also break down. You can break them down however you want. So I just did two. I did one, split it in half, and broke it down there. So we've got a little shelf here for different crates full of pieces that we've cut out, knife scabbards, rosettes, wallet backs, hobble straps, stuff like that. I've got belt blanks in behind there. We've got some bins on the bottom with rig keepers and Latigo holders. And then this area here where I can lay something out if we're here at the splitter, because I put the splitter right here. I've got a plug right there. Singer sewing machine is down there in that corner because I don't use it very often, so it can be tucked away kind of in the back. I've gotten in the habit on the splitter, I unplug it every time I use it. The reason I do, you may not do that in your shop. I might not need to, might not be a big deal. But for me, with my kids in here, they're in here every afternoon piddling around. They like to stamp around on leather and stuff. I don't want them over here by this machine and one of them be sitting on the foot pedal and another one trying to stick a G.I. Joe in there or his fingers. So we just keep it unplugged. That way they don't accidentally flip it on or I forget to turn it off or something like that. So I've just gotten in the habit of unplugging it, and that way it's not going to accidentally get turned on or left on and then somebody get their hand in there or something like that. Like I said, probably worried too much, but I'd just rather be safe than sorry. that's about it, guys. Thank y'all so much for watching. We're going to go ahead and get started this week. We got a lot of stuff to do. We've got a lot of projects going, and we'll keep you updated as we go along. Like I said, we are working on some project videos, so maybe I may be able to get one done by next week. I'm hoping we'll do a little video and kind of go from there. Hopefully I can make some progress on Claudia's bag. I know a lot of y'all are wanting to see that. We're also cutting panels this week for the deer, so we haven't forgot about the deer. We just a lot of stuff going on. Always in the shop, something taking us in different directions. So we'll try to get that going as well. If you haven't already, be sure to check out Lost Trade Podcast. We're having a whole lot of fun with that. There'll be another one come out this week, and we've got a couple of interviews to do this week as well. And so we got some neat people coming on board, and we've reached out to some other folks as well that we're waiting to hear back on just to get a date scheduled and stuff like that. But I really appreciate y'all watching. 19 episodes in, that means 19 weeks we've been doing the Monday morning briefing videos, and y'all seem to really like it, and so we're really happy about that. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and visit dgsaddlery.com for anything as far as leatherworker resources, patterns, blog articles, videos, tips and tricks, or if you're just interested in getting something made as far as a belt or a wallet or a bag or something like that, let us know. And obviously we've got a lot of saddles on there as well. If you're just found our channel and stuff and you're interested in having a saddle made, we do have a big saddle gallery on there where you can go back and look at a bunch of the saddles that we built. But I appreciate you guys watching. I hope y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next week in the Monday morning briefing.